All right. So before we start, we've got a quick list. I want you guys to tell me, is this a legit CrossFit competition test or is it a circus act? All right. So we've got Blair and Seth here. First of all, ring handstand push-ups. Is the ring handstand push-up a legitimate CrossFit competition movement or a circus? Seth?
Circus act. The standards are not good. They've not been well defined.
Blair?
Yeah, I would say legitimate, but standards have not been established good enough yet.
Burpee broad jumps.
That's legit.
Agree, Blair?
Yep, definitely legit.
Softball toss.
Yeah, it's I have to go with legit. Yeah.
Really? All right.
100% legit.
100% legit. There we go. Butterfly muscle ups.
I don't like the caveat of having to do butterfly. No, not legit.
Blair?
You're saying butterfly required?
Yeah.
Like circus.
All right. There we go. Bear crawl.
There's no standards, so no. I'm going to say no. Too sloppy.
What do you think, Blair? Bear
I
crawl?
say legit.
Legit. All right. Baby crawl.
I say legit.
Baby crawl. You got to go on all fours, hands and knees.
No, I don't like it. I don't like it. Circus or not even circus. I don't know. It's a waste of time.
Yeah, that's circus.
All right. What about ring push-ups where your partner has the ring straps around their neck and they're standing on two boxes?
I've done that. I've been there.
I know you have. That's why.
I just no. I'm gonna draw my line on the other side of that. No, nah.
What do you think?
Was for sure, sir.
Yeah, it's funny, buddy. My business partner, he did them too, and he's like, no one got hurt doing them, but I'll tell you what, the optics were terrible. All right. So before we go any further, with me today, two guys who've spent way too many weekends surrounded by chalk dust and amateur athletes yelling at volunteer judges. We have Seth Page, head programmer for Jump Ship Training, member of CrossFit Athlete Council, and the internet's favorite programming hero. Did not like being called a villain last time. Yeah.
I got upgraded. Wow.
You got that. That's right. And then we have Blair Morrison, CrossFit OG, affiliate owner, and the only 3 times CrossFit Games athlete to play wide receiver at Princeton University. I actually did not fact check that one, but I'm pretty sure it's a safe bet that he's the only 3 times games. So, all right. I am Danny Lehr from Caffeine and Kilos, gym owner, caffeine dealer, and defender of poor post-competition life choices. After all, you got to air it out. So Blair spent some time here at Ivy League, Princeton. He also did a little studying at Oxford, 2 very old universities. So let's test some history knowledge. This segment is which is older, the university or this fitness thing? All right, so the Greek gymnasiums. Blair, what's older, Greek gymnasiums or Oxford University?
Greek gymnasiums.
There we go. Good. Ancient Greek gymnasiums were major architectural complexes where men trained naked for physical health, military purposes, and intellectual development. 600 BC, whereas Oxford, 1096 AD, which is still hella older than the Aztec Empire, whole different thing. So yeah, people were doing Murph naked out on the run, just swinging meat 700 years before Oxford was founded. All right, one more. The invention of the barbell or Princeton University, which is older?
Oh, Princeton University.
Oh, okay. Well, that is true. All right. The modern barbell, steel plates, collars, and knurling didn't appear until the 1860s. Princeton, 1746. So,
wow.
Right, baby.
Impressive.
Like, there's no way they had barbells before the Civil War. No chance.
Yeah. Princeton students are already arguing philosophy 100 years before anyone figured out to put plates on 2 ends of a stick. Right. So that's where we're at. All right. And since we're talking CrossFit competition, not history today, let's do one not history related. Both impact from both of you guys or input from both of you. What's the better night before competition meal? A full rack of ribs or chicken and rice?
I would do chicken and rice because I would do chicken and rice.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to have some carbs in it, so I'll go with the rice.
Nah, see, you guys are both wrong. A full rack of ribs is the correct answer here. You just got to put enough barbecue sauce on it, and then there's your carbs.
That did cross my mind, to be honest, but I was like, no.
Yeah, so that's what you do. You ask an opinion question and tell people they're wrong. That's how you do podcasting.
Well, I mean, You know what? To be fair, Danny, I guess if you wanted to have worse gas next to your competitors the next day, all that barbecue sauce would probably be a good bet.
Side of beans with it too. A side of baked beans.
Oh yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. That's everybody loves that, especially if there's a lot of deadlifts, heavy deadlifts, something like that. All right. So first thing, let's talk local competitions. So local competitions, are they actually good for the average CrossFitter? Do they motivate members and build community, or do they just wreck shoulders and make Monday's class empty? Let's just go one at a time here. So first off, Seth, from the programming side and also as a gym owner, do local competitions derail training cycles or actually help with buy-in and community?
Well, I guess that depends on the competition, how much volume that competition requires, and what you're asking of them. Because you can have a simple in-gym competition with some of your members. You could have 2 or 3 little workouts over the course of 90 minutes to 2 hours that people are working towards for a few months because you hype it up and you try to do a community building activity. And that doesn't necessarily have to wreck people for the whole week to follow. That can definitely be a very worthwhile thing for people to be chasing, right? If they want goals or they're lacking goals in the gym, you can just say, hey, we're working towards, doing the best you can for your teammates in this event. So that might be just enough to kind of light the fire a little longer. As far as like bigger style competitions like that, still in gym, like we just hosted a competition at one of our gyms on Oahu. We had 80 teams sign up as a partner competition. Awesome. And it was, it was great. And there was 4 events for each team. And then there was, top 10 make the finals, all that. And that was a lot more challenging, we'll say. And so we do have scale divisions and masters divisions and stuff, but it ends up being the better athletes usually sign up for that. But I do think even if you don't have the majority of your gyms participating in that, we had an amazing spectator turnout because people wanted to root on the other people that are in their class times that maybe had signed up. And so that ended up being just a massive community event out here across there's probably 7 or 8 different affiliates on the island that had teams that participated. So it's just a really worthwhile event. I think if you do it right and you have the right intentions for it, you're not trying to find the fittest on earth in your local competition. As long as you're smart about it, I feel like there's a lot of benefit to doing something like that. And if you're really good at it, at hosting competitions, they can be profitable, which a lot of gyms could use that extra bump in revenue once or twice a year. So if you know what you're doing, they can be quite profitable as well.
Yeah, definitely good for, I think, community. I think it's hard for people to argue against that. And the money, I remember, 10, 12 years ago, it seems like that was part of the playbook, right? You open a CrossFit gym. A lot of the kind of current systems within gyms weren't necessarily as built out. So that was a big part of the thing, right? You host a competition, use the money to buy more equipment. Seemed like a lot of gyms I know were doing that. All right, Blair, what do you think? Local competitions, we'll just start there. What are your thoughts? Good, bad, indifferent? You're a gym owner. You run a pretty large competition. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think local competitions are great for the gyms and they're great for the overall community. One thing I think that Seth touched on is the number of people that you get to walk into your gym because they're coming to a competition to root on a friend or a loved one. It's probably equivalent to all of the walk-by traffic, all of the internet drop-ins that you get for the entire year in just one day. And I think gyms need to think about that. The biggest hurdle CrossFit gym owners have is getting people in the door to give it a chance and see that it's a place that they could do. Now, granted, the competition environment might scare some of those people off, but I think it gives you an opportunity just to get them in the house, which is great. As far as like the risk of injury to the athletes, I mean, I really think that can be mitigated by programming, like Seth's saying. If you're smart about it and you have multiple divisions and you are encouraging effort, and participation as much as you're encouraging performance and high level stuff, all those people are going to get a taste of, that competitive juice that everybody thrives on. Everybody who tells me that they're not a competitor, when they get out there, they still enjoy it. There's a little bit of that's just kind of born into us all. So I think it's great for the gyms. I think it's great for the people that do it. And the big hurdle is it's a headache, and if gym owners got tired of doing them. We used to have so many competitions around every year. And I think everybody thought that it was going to be a huge financial bump, and it really wasn't. Most of these competitions, you might end up netting like a couple $1,000, but that's still better than a poke in the eye. And like, I don't know, I think it's worth the effort, my opinion. So we still do them. We still encourage everybody to do them. And I think there's absolutely a place for it.
I like what you mentioned about just getting people in the door as well, getting people come in to see, because it's true, most CrossFit gyms, although more and more they are in, high visibility areas when you travel around, but most CrossFit gyms are not on Main Street, right? And still a lot of gyms are where you can get a building that has a high enough ceiling and where you can get, big open floor space without the whole thing being taken up by offices and that type of stuff, which tends to be in industrial parks or that kind of an area. And so from an awareness standpoint and getting people in the door, I think there's definitely something to that as well. So for local competitions, we'll stay on kind of local, smaller scale ones for right now. You want it to be fun for the individuals. And yeah, just getting out there and having it, just the whole idea of being a competitive environment is fun for sure. But what about the workouts? Like, how wild should the workouts be? Should there be, new movements or things they haven't necessarily seen before, but are safe, obviously, right? Or should it just be basic tests? Like, should a standard workout in the competition be the same workout that, maybe was Tuesday's class workout? Or should the tests be something more unique and fun? And where's the line there? Seth, you just had a competition last week, so why don't you pop in there first?
Okay. I like putting higher skill, maybe outside the box style movements in like a final, but a lot of what happens, it varies from competition to competition. But if I'm trying to get a bunch of signups, there tends to be hesitancy of people signing up until they see what's going to be required of them. So a lot of times, if you don't post like RX, we'll need to be able to do this list of things. Scaled, we'll need to be able to do this list of things. Or some people like, I'm waiting to see the workouts before I sign up. So what I wouldn't want to do, because we just want to be the most like consistent competition that you can count on, running on time, showing up, you can participate, everyone has a good time. There isn't a major snafu and whatever happening, GHD is not falling apart on the floor on people, like whatever. So like, we just want it to be nice and consistent. And so we keep the workouts pretty simple. We're experienced enough programmers that you can make simple workouts very challenging with the correct weights and rep schemes. And any good coach knows how to do that. I mean, the simpler is harder a lot of times. So if you can get creative with that, especially if it's a partner event or something, I don't think you need to be overly creative where somebody has to run around the building with an egg on a spoon while the other person's doing thrusters. Like, I don't think that there's a time and a place for that. Don't get me wrong. And I could talk about a whole nother in-house competition that was all about sabotaging another team. That was maybe the most fun competition of all time, but it doesn't appeal to everybody that's going to be signing up from other gyms and things like that. So there's a time and a place for both. I think simplicity is typically, if you want your competition to run year after year, the best thing, running it on time, keeping the workout simple but fun, I think is what's going to draw people to come back year after year and help you grow that event if that's something you want to do.
Yeah, the other thing too about like the egg on a spoon, is it hard boiled? Is it not? Is it soft boiled, raw? Like there's just so many variables and it's just hard to, and so you want to keep it consistent and that makes it tough. Go ahead, Blair. What do you think? What are your thoughts on, the programming for local competitions? Do you want to, should they be, should workout 1 be Fran and workout 2 be CrossFit Total? You want to do simple things here? Or do you want to do some different stuff and maybe tweak the programming in a way to get multiple tests in a workout? Do you need to take into consideration, timing, flow, different things like that? Like what are your just general thoughts on local, small competitions for CrossFit?
I think local competitions, we're talking about like a 1-day thing. People want to be done before 4:00. So I think if you get too complicated, the chances of you running over or asking too much of your volunteers, it's going to be risky. The other big thing is you have to program for the space you're doing it in, and if it's a gym at your box, you're going to be doing class workouts that, you can run, hopefully heats of like 5 or 6 people for most gyms. I mean, maybe if you have a really big space, you could run heats of 10, but it just limits what you're capable of. So I think you should start with that, right? Start with the time frame you want to get it done in, and then the space that you have available. And then from there, you go and try to make the best well-rounded test that you can make. Most of these people that are, say, first-time competitors or not like elite competitors, they want that feeling of of challenge. They want to have worked hard. They don't necessarily care that it's something they've never done before. They want it to be fair and they want it to be hard. So, like Seth's saying, simple is sometimes harder than complicated. And for a local competition where you have limited resources and limited time, I think that's the way you got to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you kind of mentioned the basic way to set it up. It's like, all right, what space do I have? Like, how many, if there's something with pull-ups, how many stations do I have? Right. So like, what space is available and how are we done by 4? Like, that's kind of the key. I'm going to throw in one more, something I think about. We do an in-house competition every year. It's coming up. It's the Turkey Day Throwdown, and it's a fundraiser. So their entrance fee is they just have to bring a frozen turkey, and it all gets donated to the food bank. And we get like over 100 turkeys every year that we donate to the food bank. It's really cool. And people love it. And we're done by 1. Like, that's our thing. Like, dude, starts at 9, done by 1. We get 3 workouts in. 1 division, teams of 3. You just have to have 1 female. As many ladies as you like, you just have to have 1. There's like, how can we get the most people, like organized and together? Because then you just have arcs and scaled, period. You don't have to worry about, gender and all this different stuff. But a big part of that is I take into consideration or think about is judging. What are the easy things for judges? Because when you're doing these local competitions, if you're, say there's whatever, we'll call it muscle ups, like that lockout on the top of the rings is like pretty easy to like argue either direction most of the time, especially when you're talking about maybe not the highest level athletes on, there's a lot going on there. And so especially in partner competitions, it's like, I want every lane to be able to be judged by 1 judge. And I want the movements, like I want it very clear, simple. So for example, strength, doing like a ladder is a lot easier for the judges than trying to count what was put on or not put on a barbell, in real time in the middle of a heat. Right. And so we take into consideration the judging aspect of it quite a bit.
One thing I'll add to that, like I made the mistake in the past of thinking that you could be a lot easier on the scale division in terms of judging. And maybe you should be, honestly, but what happens is I found that the only time I've ever got complaints about judging post-competition is from people who competed in scaled. Oh, you had to hold a plank while the partner was doing box jumps. So-and-so's butt was so high in the air. Here are 3 photos I took during the competition to prove that they were cheating and your judge wasn't. Like, the stuff I've heard from out of the scale division, I'm like, oh man, like that's supposed to be the division you go in just to have fun and like get some experience, but they also take it so serious and like, so you're right. That's to prove your point that the movements in all divisions, even if you're trying to make it simple for scaled, has to be something that a judge can just make the standard super clear. So you're not like, oh, who cares what happens in the scaled? Because like some of those people do, and they're going to blow you up for it if you don't make it crystal clear.
And highly unlikely you have a special judging course for your local competition. What you really have is you have Cheryl from 9:30 a.m. mom's class who's over there like taking care of the heat, right? And so you want to make sure that's taken. Or a lot of times, it's like sometimes the judges don't even do CrossFit. It's like my mom is like down there helping out and like, oh, whatever. The judge had to run to the bathroom. We need someone in lane 3 because like I run on time. Like we're waiting for no man. If this heat's starting at 9:30, it's 9:30. I'm 3, 2, 1, go, right? Yeah. So awesome. Now, so a member signs up for competition. What should change in their training, if anything? So should they adjust volume or intensity? Should they just continue their normal routine going to class? Should they stay after class, get in some extra work? Should they make sure to come down or run a 5K every Saturday between now and the competition? What should your average CrossFitter change when they sign up for a local event? Blair, why don't you go ahead and lead this one off?
Well, I think if the workouts have been announced early, as we talked about earlier, which is typically the case, people want to see what they have to do, then that would be the additional work I would prescribe as the coach is like, hey, let's take a look at these movements. Where are we strong? Where are we weak? And then spend time after class or before class working on those. I wouldn't drastically adjust what they've been doing. I think that's a good way to get hurt or, develop some tendonitis from overuse. But yeah, I would just tailor it to the test that they're actually going to have to do. So if they've got a competition that's, 6 weeks out and they just released the workouts and it's got, some this happened at NCC last year. We had for the scale division, they announced or we announced that the Isabel weight was going to be, I think, 95 pounds for the scale division. So all these women that were in scale were like freaking out that this is like their 1 rep max snatch and they were supposed to do it 30 times. And so we had people at the gym all like the whole month leading up to it, just like snatching their faces off. But it was always done afterwards, right? So it wasn't like their sole purpose for the day. And it was a lot of technique stuff. And dude, they got so much better at snatching. Everybody got so much better at snatching. So I think that's what I would say. If it's a member in my gym, like still do your normal CrossFit stuff, come do what you're supposed to do. That's why you're here. That's why you love it. But then you can add in these little things where you need work based on what the competition is asking of you.
I'd say no matter what the level of competition is that you're signing up for, if you're doing it, you should immediately stop doing your affiliate class, sign up for Proven or Mayhem, competitor track, 2 to 4 hours a day yeah. minimum. Yep. Quit your job. And no, yeah, it's obviously ridiculous. If you're at a good gym and you're following a solid program, GPP based program, like you should be prepared, right? The whole point of that is to be fit enough so that next weekend you can go run that 5K or do that partner comp, and yeah, you'll feel the effects of it, but you're good to go. And I totally agree with Blair. It's just the one thing that you can do is maybe if it is a partner synchro thing, maybe you're practicing a little bit of certain movement or something beforehand, or maybe there is a movement in particular that's going to be a sticking point for you. Like you're just not confident in that bar muscle up that's coming up in WOD 4. So you spend a little more time seeing if you can squeeze out a few more of those. Like that's it. Other than that, if we're talking local competition, realistically, your training is being done each and every day if you're actually consistent at the gym and showing up. So I don't think you got to worry too much beyond that.
Well, I mean, that's the great thing about CrossFit in general, right? Is that, it's easy to look at and say, well, I do whatever 3 to 4 classes a week. So I'm only training 3 to 4 hours a week. I'm going to do this local competition. There's going to be 3 to 4 workouts in a day. Like, how am I going to possibly do that? But it's amazing that, I know personally, that's what I do. I do our class 3 to 4 days a week. But you know what? I have yet to find something on a weekend, some activity that I've done that my body hasn't been good for, right? Like go hike for 8 hours uphill. Everyone in your gym that goes to class 3 to 4 days a week is good for it. They can all handle it. They can do it, right? And so it's actually, again, that's what's cool about CrossFit. That's the whole point is, kind of this minimal input of time. What your body's capable of is incredible. I went and rode 42 miles on a road bike with a bunch of with half of it was going up, right? And I don't ride a bike, dude. You know what I mean? Like that's just off CrossFit 3 to 4 days a week, but I was good for like this 4-hour ride, and my body held up. In fact, going up hills, I was passing the other guys, and it's incredible. Like again, it was an entire week's worth of time that I normally train all at once and in a movement pattern that was not normal, and I was fine. I think that people would be amazed what their bodies can do just going to class regularly.
I agree.
Now going to a little bit bigger competitions, we could talk about kind of the next step is, there's online qualifiers for some of these events, and some of these events may double as semifinals for the CrossFit Games. And in fact, it was just announced officially the NorCal Classic will be a semifinal for the CrossFit Games again. Blair, what do you think about that?
Oh, was there ever a doubt?
Hey, well, the email just went out yesterday, right? So I think you guys do a great job. So
no, I'm excited. We're
all right,
we're pumped to be back.
It's a little bit of a loaded question, I guess, for Blair, then obviously. But well, first of all, let's real quick, let's go on that. Like, so how does that work? As far as it being a semifinal, do they have to qualify through the Open in order for NorCal Classic to be a qualifier event? Or can you do the online qualifier for NorCal, go and compete at NorCal, and if you place high enough, then qualify for the games, no matter how your Open score goes?
It's a good question. So in order to claim the games qualifying spot, you will have to have done the Open and quarterfinals and placed, I don't remember the exact line, but it's something like top 200 at quarterfinals or something like that. So you'll have to have done that separately. And then if you wanted to qualify to get the game spot through the NorCal Classic, you would have to either have done our online qualifier or been invited as an at-large invite to get there. So now there is the possibility that somebody let's say somebody who is like boycotting the CrossFit games or the CrossFit Open. So they don't do the Open, they don't do quarterfinals. They go do our qualifier, they show up, they win. They would take home like first place prize money, but they would not take the games qualifying spot. That would slide down to the next two people that met the other criteria.
That would kind of suck for you, huh?
I mean,
I guess maybe to you it doesn't really matter, but it's like it's kind of like not the point, right? Like that's I don't know. Maybe it's all the same.
I don't honestly. It would probably bring a lot of attention, so it might be good for us.
No publicity is bad publicity. It would definitely get a lot of attention. All right, here we go. So who's out there that doesn't want to do the Open or go to the games but want some prize money? Head out to Dorkcock Classic. Get your name in some Morning Chalk Up articles.
Right.
All right. So what do we think in general? And again, Blair's obviously invested in this, but that's okay. Him and Seth and I, we're all friends, so we can say whatever we want to each other. What do we think in general of CrossFit and the CrossFit Games using independently operated competitions as part of the qualifying process? Does that make the CrossFit Games less legitimate that some of these third-party competitions are part of the proving ground to get in? Or is it whatever? Is it, hey, like it's still tests of fitness and I don't think anyone's gonna win a relatively high level competition and not be in shape, right? But I could also see someone saying, hey, like, if you have all these different people running these different competitions, where's the line between legitimacy and just, a Joe down the street running a comp or whatever's going on. I know they've all been vetted, but I think you get where I'm going at as far as judging standards, judging certification, like all that type of stuff. Seth, what do you think?
Yeah, so there's a couple things there. I don't like that individual semifinals or in-person qualifying events can just invite who they want. I think if you want a standardized like season where you have to qualify specific standard to the Open, specific standard to quarters, and then get to that event that qualifies you for the games. I wish there was a more standardized process, similarly to what we've seen in the past with regionals or semifinals, where people are assigned a chance to go compete at these different events. Because what happens is this, I don't think this is the case in Blair's situation, but someone like Mayhem, who's going to have theirs, they're incentivized, whether they do it or not, to invite more of their athletes, the athletes that they want more attention on that can compete there. So now if you have a good agent or you follow a particular training camp or program, or you have a certain friend, you may have more opportunities than the next person who outperformed you in the first two stages of competition to have a better chance of earning one of those spots to the games. Now, I don't think that's actually a massive factor. I don't think that's happening like rampant, like certain people are getting pushed out and only a certain few are getting invited in. But there is a group that is going to be invited to every event. It leaves room for that,
is what it does. It leaves room for that.
It does. It leaves room for it. And so when you talked about the legitimacy of that claim for fittest on earth, I still think that the claim is legit and met. But I do think if you do want to push it towards it being more legit all the time, you do have to have more of a standardized system that you can show is getting the best through each level of competition and then compete the highest level. I don't think there's ever been a year in CrossFit where the person who was supposed to win the games missed out on making the games and getting there and winning. I don't think that's ever happened, not even close. And I don't think it will happen, but you do want to see the storylines of some of the people maybe from 11th to 30th or whatever, and how they impact that game's week or weekend in terms of shifting people around on the leaderboard and things like that. So it does impact the other players involved that distribute those points. So I don't know. That's my.
I'll tell you this: the year that Blair got 7th, he should have got 6th, and I'm still upset about it. So
see, he was robbed.
Yeah, he was robbed. That's exactly.
But he went through a standardized process to get there.
Right. Yeah. Now, one more thing to throw in here before Blair, you can kind of take it, is what do we think also about those events not having all the same workouts? Right. And also, you would know more than me. Do they have it where like there's one or two tests that all of the events have to do, or are all of the events different at all of the semifinals? And does having different events at those different semifinals, again, is that another mark against the CrossFit Games, or is that just CrossFit and it's got to be ready for the unknown and unknowable?
Well, okay, so I'll answer your second question first. Right now, there is oversight from CrossFit on the programming. It's not but they're not writing it for everybody. So all the events have the license to kind of like build their tests. And some of that is because, like we talked about before, like everybody has different facilities, and so there's going to be some things that are possible in certain places that aren't possible in other places. And if you tried to standardize it across the board, you would get something very similar to what regionals used to be, which was kind of generic, right? And you would hear athletes would always complain about that they wanted regionals to be, more like the games, where it was like more creative stuff, because the precious few people that actually got to experience that, and it wasn't really the same test as what they got in regionals. So I think there's pros and cons. There's definitely, if you're a purist and you really want to see everybody tested equally, and those are the only people that make it, then this system is never going to meet that criteria. But me personally, I freaking love like this system, like the way it's set up now. And I don't think it's perfect yet. I think Seth's comment about how people are invited is totally legit. And I do see that being like a point of contention. Like you said, Mayhem can just invite all their athletes, and there's nothing that says they can't. But what I love about this system right now and the way it's growing is that it's actually sustainable. The reason why we stopped doing regionals is because it was financially unsustainable. They could not meet the demand for the number of people to work it, for the sponsors traveling to all these different places, and then for them to stand up the actual event themselves financially. It's just there's not enough money to do it. And I can tell you guys, from having done this now, a large scale event for the last 7 years, it's its own business. Yeah. It takes the whole year to do it. It takes a whole bunch of different revenue streams in order to make it work. And it's just not feasible for CrossFit to do it all. So I think them distributing responsibility to these different events that have their own motivations to make it work, right? It's not just about the CrossFit Games for all these events. They have their own brands that they want to build, and they want the community to come support it. Our event, we have 8 or 9 times as many athletes that are not elite as are actually elite. And, those are the people that everybody's coming out to see. That's where your spectators come from. That's where the vendors are coming from, because now you have people that actually spend money at Vendor Village. And now it's like, this is a way that you can do it. It's more like the PGA Tour, right? Where you have all these tour stops that, they're their own businesses. They're generating their own prize money, so the athletes can get paid. I mean, we don't got to remember too long ago. I mean, athletes didn't make any money anywhere except for Wadapalooza and the games, right? And now that's not the way it is. There's lots of opportunities for athletes to make money, because as CrossFit is letting these other events in, it's giving them momentum, and more people want to be part of it. So I think it's a good thing.
I will just add, like, I actually agree. When I was talking about standardization before that, I only mean in terms of the filter system, how athletes get to go. I like that there's different programming. What I didn't like, even if it was more standardized, is 4 weekends in a row of regionals, where the first week got to do these workouts, and then every athlete, every other person was watching that and doing the same workouts over and over and over again. And I had to, as a coach, endure 4 weekends of that. As a spectator and fan, endure 4 weekends of the same workout over and over again. By the third and fourth weekend, you're tuned out. You just want to watch the leaderboard and see what happened. You don't really care anymore, unless you have somebody very specific that you're watching. So the variety of programming makes each event its own and way more watchable and way more exciting. So
I'll throw in that as well. That aspect of it is, for someone going week 4 has had 4 more weeks to prepare for those exact events, right? Yep. Compared to someone week 1. And so like that may not be equitable, right? Whereas doing the different tests at these different events helps. Blair, I think the PGA, because I was thinking, like weightlifting, for example, you do these local events, local competition. If you get a big enough total, you can qualify for nationals, that type of thing. However, the lifts are very standard, right? The standards, like all you do, you snatch, you clean, and jerk, period. The PGA Tour is a really interesting way to look at it, because it's different, right? Every course is different. And someone who maybe is, a better driver, or someone who is, a better putter or whatever, different courses might actually help them or hurt them more, right? And so I think that actually is a good comparison to something that's a little bit different. Even tennis, you get different surfaces, but I mean, the box is the same and that type of stuff, right? Where anyway, so I think that's an interesting way to look at it. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, we got to kind of wrap it up here, gentlemen. Lightning round. I had like so many more questions about competitions and games. Maybe Seth and I'll be back, and hopefully Larry can join us again. We can get into this a little more. Okay, so some lightning round stuff, real quick. Just try to keep it to one sentence or so, if you remember. All right, the best local competition team name you've ever seen.
Oh, they're all so terrible. Thruster, I barely knew her.
yeah.
Buck Furpies. I don't know. I've never heard a good one in my life.
I'll get back to internet villain. All right, I'll give you some. I looked up for the Turkey Day Throwdown, some on theme ones. We had a Huffin' and Stuffin'. I actually kind of like that one. It's a Thanksgiving workout. And then another was Pour Some Gravy on Me. I was like, I could get on board with that. That's okay. Like theme. There's a theme there.
Yeah, I know this is lightning round. Yes. I know it's lightning round, but I will say, if somebody signs up for a competition I'm running and they put TBD in their team name, guess what their team name is for the weekend?
TBD,
baby. That's right.
That's it. You should come up with a word or like a phrase where TBD is the acronym, like the trombone bastard demons, and then just throw that in there, and then all weekend they're the trombone bastard demons, whatever. Okay. Movement that instantly ruins a competition.
Ruins a competition.
Assault bike. Ooh, that's the best event.
Even though I just used them, I'll say it. Kipping handstand push-ups.
I'm going to say long distance row. No one wants to watch it. No one wants to do it. Long distance row is like the worst thing you can do at a competition.
I guess I'm thinking of it from the athlete's perspective. Like as soon as the athlete does like a assault bike workout, they're ruined.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Oh yeah.
All right, we'll do one more. See if you have something. If you don't, we'll see where it goes. All right, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen happen in the middle of an event?
I mean, I don't want to say it, but it happened. It happened in the final event at NorCal Classic last year, where the media person told the guy to change the weights, and it was the wrong decision. That was crazy.
That was crazy.
That was crazy.
You know what? Mine will be the WFP one, the GHD falling apart on Austin Hatfield in the middle of an event, just like falling. It couldn't have been, and I worked that event. It couldn't have been worse. The thing falls off the top and he slams his nuts right into the post. Like, I can't think of another equipment malfunction other than, wait, whose wheelbarrow broke in the games in like 20?
There you go.
Olsen, right?
There was a couple.
Khalifa's broke.
Yeah.
Dude, you know what I thought about when you're just saying that was OC Throwdown 2012.
Oh my God.
Where freaking what's his face with the jean shorts.
Oh yeah, Teasdale.
Teasdale was just like MFing his judge and screaming.
Oh, Ryan Fisher.
Ryan Fisher. What?
Ryan Fisher.
I will kill you. I believe was what Ryan Fisher said.
I will
do his judge.
That's right.
The competition. Yeah, Teasdale was getting after him too. Now he's got long hair and drinks his own piss. It's a whole different situation for him. He really turned a corner.
Yeah. That's right, Ryan Fisher. That's right. I will kill you.
Yeah.
Actually, now that we're talking, OC Throwdown might have like the top 3 worst things ever at events. Like not to make a joke about this, but
Kevin
Ogar. Kevin Ogar.
Broke
and then
his neck on a snatch.
They had a hurdle jump like the following year. That was like a relay hurdle jump that people were just blowing their Achilles out on and stuff.
Right. Because it was over and back and they only went one way.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. So like they would jump back over and it didn't have the breakaway feature that way. And so then people, they were like clipping themselves and like,
no.
Yeah. There's some clips on YouTube if you do deep diving of people flopping over those hurdles still. Pretty crazy.
Man, I'll tell you what, not nearly as crazy, but kind of fun is I saw a guy PR his snatch on accident because when they took the weights off, it was loaded a 10 on one side and a 15 on the other. And it was the first time the guy snatched 300 pounds. So big, heavy snatch on a misloaded
Wow.
barbell. Kind of fun. I mean, it's not people tripping over blown out Achilles, but it was just like, didn't see that coming. And they gave him credit for it. Oh, yeah, we'll count that. So there you go. All right. That's a wrap for today's episode of Not in My Box. If you overestimated your abilities and fitness level today, congratulations, you're one of us. Big thank you to Blair Morrison and Seth Page. Go sign up for the NorCal Classic Qualifier and use the jump ship training to prep for it. And make sure you buy some coffee from caffeineandkilos.com. Share this episode with a coach who still preaches triple extension, or with your training partner who still substitutes smelling salts for his warm-up. We'll be back next week with another topic that everyone's got an opinion on. If you have a question for our expert panel, shoot me a DM or comment on the video. And remember, if your lift was pretty, it probably wasn't heavy enough. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Danny.
See ya.